Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. You already know it's Victoria Ike, and today I'll be teaching you how to draw a perfect princess dart bustier pattern. For those who are back here, my old subscribers, I really appreciate you all. If you're new to this channel, do well to click on the subscribe button. Have a nice time.
Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our page. Thank you. Our measurements are shoulder 14, bust 36, under bust length 14, half length 16, waist 28, shoulder to nipple 11, and nipple to nipple 8. So now we are going to start with taking our vertical measurements. We are starting from the neckline, the armhole, the nipple point, the under bust, the half length, and then we are going to add our 2 inches allowance. So after taking our vertical measurement, we are going to draw straight lines across, horizontal lines across those measurements. Let's go be drawing our lines across the measurements, the points which we have marked. So this is it. Just keep drawing your lines across all the marked points, because that's where we are going to be taking all other of our measurements on. So after drawing the lines, we're just going to make sure they are extended, well extended, so that it can take all the measurements we are going to be putting down. So now after marking, I'm just going to be writing down the different measurements so we can all get to understand the measurements. So now we're starting with the armhole, then the bust point, the under bust, the half length, and then our allowance. So that's our measurements we've put down. So after doing this, we are going to take our shoulder measurement. Our shoulder is 14, but we are going to be using 14 and a half. We are going to be using 7 and a half. That's the half inches for our allowance. So we are going to take the same measurement on the armhole line, so we can get a straight line from the shoulder down to the armhole. And then after doing that, we're just going to come to the center of the pattern paper and mark our nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. So we are going to be using 4 and a half. The half inches for our sewing allowance. So we're just going to draw a straight line as well to cut across all the marks we've put down. So after doing this, we are going to go to our under bust line, and we are going to take 2 inches to the side that goes to the side seam. So we're just taking 2 inches from the under bust down to the allowance point, and then we're going to draw a straight line as well. So after doing that, we're going to curve our armhole, just to be able to get our measurement straight. Then we're going to go to the shoulder line, and we're going to mark on point 4 and 6. So after marking on the 4 and 6 line, our armhole is actually 7 inches. The length of our armhole is 7 inches. So we marked at the point 4 and point 6 on our tape. Then we're going to use the French curve to curve the bust from the under bust down to the nipple point. So we're going to join it to the 2 inches we marked out, and then we're going to start from the nipple point again to take another curve to the first point where we marked at 4 inches, and then we're going to curve it again to the point where we marked at 6 inches. But this time we're going to curve it out of the armhole point. So after curving it out, we are going to mark out 1 inch outside the armhole. We're going to mark 1 inch, and then we're going to curve it all the way down. We are creating another armhole. So now after doing this, we're going to be taking our final measurements. We are going to take our bust measurement on the armhole line. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to add the 2 inches we took out from the armhole to the measurement. So our bust now will be 9 inches plus 2 inches, that's 11, and then 1 inch for joining allowance, and that's 12. So we are going to take our bust measurement from the bust point, but this time we're not adding 2 inches, so we're only going to be adding 1 inch for joining and 2 inches for our sewing allowance. Then the next one, we're going to be taking our waist measurement from the under bust. Our waist is 7, so we're going to be adding the 2 inches, which make it 9, and then another 2 inches for sewing, which would make it 11 inches. We are going to repeat the process on the half length line and the allowance line as well. So now we're going to draw a straight line from the under bust down to the allowance line, since all the measurements are on the same point, and then we're going to use our French curve to curve out the mark from the armhole to the bust point, like so, and then we're going to curve it again. So I'm just going to be joining from the bust point down to the under bust. Then I'm going to be taking my neck measurement. So my neck, I'm going to take 3.5 for the width and 3.5 as well for the length. So I'm going to just use my ruler to draw it out in form of a square, and I will curve my neck as well. Then I'm gonna go and take my 1 inch from the shoulder for my shoulder curve. So I'm just going to curve it from the shoulder point to the neck line. So after doing this, I'm just going to be cutting out my pattern. As usual, I'm just going to cut out everything for a start before I cut them in pieces. Just going to cut from the allowance to the side measurements. Then I'm going to take out my neck, the neckline, and I'm going to cut out my shoulder slant. Then I'm going to finish up with the armhole from the arm, cutting out the armhole side. So now I have my pattern out, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it into the different fragments which we have marked already. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the Burstier part. That's the princess Burstier which we have marked. Just making sure that the edge is not too sharp. That's on the under bust is not too sharp. So just go cut it carefully on the line, and then I'm taking it down to the second line. And then I'm going to cut out the center part that's following the nipple to nipple line which I drew, and then I'm going to take it up. I'm going to take it up to the first line we marked, which is the 4 inches line mark. So we're just going to cut it all the way up. So now here we have our princess that's Burstier. So this is how it comes out. I'm trying to make it stand. So here is our finished product.